Hello everyone, Father Jared coming to you. And why so many priests? A lot of people have had questions as we've begun the Beacons process about why do we have, all these different, everybody's moving around. There's a lot of different priests within, these family of parishes, not just ours, but, also a number of other ones. So there's multiple priests in pretty much every family with the exception of a few throughout the Archdiocese. And what value does that really present to, to the church? What does it present to the parish? What does it present even to the priests themselves? What is the value? Well, I think there's a number of things. So I guess, first for the priest part, I do think it is good that now we operate together. I've realized what a blessing it has been to operate as a priest with other priests because, well, no one else really thinks the way that we do. No one else understands what it's like to be a priest except a priest. And so the beauty of that for, especially in the realm of being able to share the burdens, the joys, struggles, all those kind of things, allows us the possibility of having those conversations and, having someone they can identify with what we're going through. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is just in the way that, we see things. We were trained for 9 years. We felt called by the Lord to serve as a priest. We felt that he was calling us to help lead people into deeper holiness. And so to have other men, other priests, to say, okay, well, how do we best lead our people into that is just a great thing, that it's no longer just us having to grapple with that ourselves, what does it mean to be a spiritual father, but instead all of us being united together around the same group of people to say, well, how do we help lead these individuals? How do we help teach them? How do we help bring them into a fuller relationship with Jesus Christ? And so, those kind of things for the priest himself are just of great value. And then also, not every priest was ordained to be a pastor, even though we were ordained to be diocesan priests, and that was kind of oftentimes the thinking. Now, only now we can permit priests a longer time before they have to become pastors because there's more vicars now, and also even if a priest, perhaps doesn't want to be a pastor, with fewer pastors, that means that fewer priests have to be called up into those ranks, and so it provides that sort of opportunity for them as well, and allows more priests to simply vicars and to be help and not have to take on kind of the role of pastor, which is administrative heavy, also criticism heavy. If we're being honest, people generally blame the pastor for things that they see going poorly or what they don't like, and so as a result, what's a good thing about Beacons, in that regard, is well, there's a priest who takes that, and I think it allows more of the priest to be, well, in many ways, to be honest, to be likable, and so there offers that sort of possibility. So that's kind of the priest. There's many other points you can go there. But then what's valuable about it for, let's say, everyone as a whole? So what's the value for parishioners? Well, I think that's, again, goes back to even some of those same points. Your priests now operate and talk with other priests, and what that means is that they now have kind of a clear idea of what their vision is, what the idea is, and how ultimately to kind of negotiate and what is my thing. So as we negotiate how we do different things, for my own experience with my 3 vicars is how do we say mass, how do we do these different things, really teaches what's actually matters and what is actually just my preference, what is just me. And so that helps me to surrender those things that aren't absolutely essential to passing on the faith, and it's just okay, that's my preference and I can surrender that. And so what that allows is that the people get kind of, I think, a better version of us, because we're hopefully helping to shape one another, we're helping to work with one another, we're pushing each other towards holiness, and we're kind of calling each other out, that we can rely upon each other in times of need. We can call upon each other hey, you're not living up to your end, you're not doing what you should do, and so we can kind of do those things, and that ultimately we're having those conversations about how do we make people holier, and not just simply bouncing from one thing to the next, but actually trying to project and talk about what comes next. So yeah, doing those things, that's a great benefit. Hopefully this is going to make your priest more holy, more wholesome, and ultimately more kind of well-rounded as well. And so with that, it also allows, just the possibility of more priests being at different things. So, I don't have to be at every single meeting that goes on in the parish as pastor. And so I can send other priests in that's not only just with meetings, but also just even community events. Every priest now gets to be your father. It doesn't just have to be the pastor, but instead all the other priests there too. Each and every priest gets the opportunity to be a part of the parish's life, of a family of parish's life. And as a result, what that can kind of affect is, well, each and every one of the parishioners can relate perhaps better with one of the priests than they can the other. And that doesn't mean they don't like the other ones, it just means that they relate better with them. And so that allows them the possibility of having these kind of relationships with a priest that they just, for whatever reason, whether it's providence, personality, whatever it is, are able to converse with and confide in more easily, and able to ultimately help inspire them towards holiness. And I think that even goes for vocations, you know. I think a lot of times we like to project this idea of a cookie cutter priest that's like, you know, super, super personable, super, you know, like charismatic and super, you know, whatever else, like attach whatever other adjective that oftentimes people tend to associate with public figures that makes them successful, which is fine. And like, I'm glad that a lot of my brothers are charismatic. I'm not. That's okay. And, you know, I'm glad that other priests are much, much more personable than I can be as an introvert. That's okay with me. I'm okay with the way that the Lord has made me. But then at the same time, we have to ask ourselves, well, wherever we hold up this kind of thing as that individual, that priest, as the ideal priest, well, the young man who's quiet, who's simply pious, who, you know, maybe doesn't fit that mold, we have to ask ourselves, like, how does that help to inspire him towards, you know, the priesthood whenever he thinks, well, I don't really fit into what people think the priest is supposed to be, so I'm not going to do it. But instead, when we have multiple priests, it's like, oh, okay, I'm kind of like Father so-and-so in this regard, and kind of like Father so-and-so in this regard, and if they can both do it, then maybe I can do it. It makes the priesthood more relatable, more relevant, and more kind of, just more kind of tactile to someone's life, and especially a young man's life, to help him consider that more fully. And so I think that that's just like another value that I see there. And also, I mean, like, just the spreading out of a workload. Different parishes have different kind of types of work, different things they need to do. And so this whole new system allows us to say, okay, these kind of things can be tasked to you, instead of a priest being assigned to each parish and having to do everything related to, you know, marriage prep, catechesis, funerals, so on, you know, administration, so on and so forth. And this kind of allows, like, okay, you're a little bit better with this, so how about you take charge of that? And I'm a little bit better at this, and I'll take charge of this, and allows the sort of responsibilities to be shared more evenly according to what one's charisms, gifts, and kind of interest are as a priest. And so all these kind of things allow for this system to build us up as a family of parishes and as a family of priests as well. That we are truly in a brotherhood. So those are a few of the reasons. I listed those in my bulletin article, but also I just wanted to make a video because I think, you know, not like, you know, people have just had questions about why are we doing it this way and what are the values. And I thought, well, if other people are listening to this as well, that maybe this will help to kind of make that clear as to what this really entails and how this helps to make your priest better, how it helps to make your parish better, how it helps to just make everybody healthier and more well-rounded, in my opinion. And so there's that. I hope you all have a great week. I'm leaving on vacation for the week that whenever I believe this will be released. And so, yeah, so I hope each and every one of you have a great week, and know my prayers. Please pray for me, and God bless you.